Before we start, I apologize. I'm still recovering from some germite at the MegaCon festival in Florida getting me sick, so please bear with me as we go through this. But I just want to start off by saying, don't trust Netflix. And of course, that is exactly what they're trying to do right now. They're trying to recover from them completely burning all of their bridges when it comes to pushing all of the woke insanity on their platform. And now they're starting to see the consequences of that in their stock crashes and, more and more people leaving the site and everything else. And they're trying to recover from that. And one of the ways that they're trying to recover from that is by appealing to conservatives. And that is one of the things that they're trying to push right now. And that is something that their own CEO has decided to start to push as well. Now, there's a problem with conservatives where a lot of conservatives are very gullible and will trust anybody who says that they're on their side. And I think a lot of that comes from a desperation from conservatives to want some people that are who are big names out there to be on their side because they want to feel like they actually have cultural relevance. And I think that is something that we need to be very, very careful about. And so we're going to be getting into what the Netflix CEO has to say here, and we're going to take a look at what he has to actually say, because he does have some good things to say on its face, but there are some red flags that we have to take a look at as well. So Netflix CEO reacts to conservative media praise for anti-woke memo. It's an interesting time. Now, what Netflix has been doing and saying is on its face good, because they are allowing people like Ricky Gervais to have a platform. They're allowing people like Dave Chappelle to have a platform. These comedians that are basically being canceled all over the place on social media by woke weirdos. And the fact is that Netflix continues to allow them to come back and make more specials and to have more content on their platforms. And a lot of the content that they have to say is stuff that is found very offensive by people in the alphabet community and everything else. So I appreciate the fact that Netflix is standing their ground on some of these types of issues. And basically in their anti-woke memo that they put out recently, they were saying things like, oh, well, if you work here at Netflix and you don't like the fact that we allow people like Ricky Gervais on our platform, well, maybe you should look for a different job. And now we are at a point here where even the CEO of Netflix is starting to acknowledge that this is the way forward for Netflix. So this is what he had to say. In an article published on Saturday, Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos defended his decision to protect the company's content from woke employees who would seek to censor it, saying that it was very important for American culture. The change in Netflix's company culture was in large part due to the backlash the streaming service faced last year over its Dave Chappelle special, The Closer, which some employees claimed was transphobic. When asked how he felt about being touted in conservative media after defending freedom of speech, Sarando said it used to be a very liberal issue, so it's an interesting time that we live in. Sarandos added, I always said if we censor in the U.S., how are we going to defend our content in the Middle East? He told the Times that he encourages comedians to cross the line every once in a while to figure out where large swaths of the American public stand on certain issues. I think it's very important to the American culture generally to have free expression. Now, this is a bit of a red flag here because he threw in the word generally in the sentence here. That word should not be in here at all. There should be no debate about this. He should have said, I think it's very important to the American culture to have a free expression, because it is important. It is something that we should all be defending. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your opinions are. I don't care if you disagree with me on literally every single thing that I stand for. We should all be defending each other's rights to say those things. That is the importance of free expression, free speech. He continues and says, we're reprogramming for a lot of diverse people. We are programming for a lot of diverse people who have different opinions and different tastes and different styles, and yet we're not making everything for everybody. We want something for everybody, but everything's not going to be for everybody. Wow, that's quite the word salad there. But for the most part, I agree with what he says here. Excuse me. And I think he has a good point to make here. And on its face, for the most part, I agree with him. But we also have to keep in mind that so much of the content that Netflix puts out there is woke, is continuing to steer the country into a negative direction. And that is something that I just don't trust about Netflix. I don't trust Netflix. I don't trust what the CEO has to say until I start to see the actual actions are taking place to show that they care about free expression. Now, for the most part, they have done a fairly good job with allowing different points of views on the platform, but it could be much more even, much more fair, and we're going to continue to see how this all plays out. But you know, they do allow Dave Chappelle and Ricky Gervais to have comedy specials on the platform that the alphabet community has tried very hard to try to cancel, and they haven't caved to that, so I have to give them some credit for that. But maybe I'm just very cynical. I find it very difficult to trust places like Netflix and so many of these other sites, so many of these other studios and everything else. So let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll talk to you all in another video very soon.